For the final ILO, we look at how systems thinking about the economy can assist with achieving sustainable outcomes. In the previous ILO, we saw that limits to growth means that economic sustainability has been growing at the expense of social and environmental sustainability. However, the limits to growth thesis argues that this growth cannot be infinite, as it will result in overshoot and collapse in all three pillars. So how can business address this? One of the solutions to prevent this from happening is decoupling economic growth and resource use. Decoupling refers to the ability of an economy to grow without corresponding increases in environmental pressure. In many economies, increasing production, or GDP, raises pressure on the environment. An economy that is able to sustain GDP growth without having a negative impact on the environmental conditions is said to be decoupled. From the diagram, we can see that there's a difference between relative and absolute decoupling. Relative decoupling means resource use may increase, however, at a slower rate than economic growth. Absolute decoupling is achieved when resource use declines over time while the economy grows. According to Tim Jackson in his book Prosperity Without Growth: Economics for a Finite Planet, he argues that there's quite a lot of evidence to support the existence of relative decoupling in global economies. However, evidence of absolute decoupling is harder to find. In 2014, the International Resource Panel published a report called Decoupling 2, which highlights existing technological possibilities and opportunities for both developing and developed countries to accelerate decoupling and reap the environmental and economic benefits of increased resource productivity. Therefore, in order to achieve decoupling, business requires innovation and the ability to apply systems thinking to deliver sustainable products and services for the future. Take this example of the auto industry. We have seen a lot of innovation in relation to hybrid cars and electric cars over the last few years. However, the important thing to keep in mind is that we still have a long way to go before there are more eco-efficient cars on the roads than not. So in other words, for us to achieve absolute decoupling in that sense. Other examples of business innovation that have accounted for the three pillars of sustainability include conscious capitalism, the shared value model, choice editing, and the stakeholder view of the firm. Conscious capitalism is a philosophy based on the belief that a more complex form of capitalism is emerging that holds the potential for enhancing corporate performance while simultaneously continuing to advance the quality of life for billions of people. The conscious capitalism movement challenges business leaders to rethink why their organizations exist and to acknowledge their company's roles in the interdependent global marketplace. It's based on four core principles of higher purpose, conscious leadership, stakeholder orientation, and building a conscious organizational culture. Examples of companies that apply conscious capitalism are Whole Foods, Zappos, and Google. Creating shared value is a business concept first introduced by Michael Porter and Mark Kramer in 2007 in an article in the Harvard Business Review. The central premise behind creating shared value is that the competitiveness of a company and the health of the communities around it are mutually dependent. Recognizing and capitalizing on these connections between societal and economic progress has the power to unleash the next wave of global growth and to redefine capitalism. Many approaches to corporate responsibility tend to pit business against society, emphasizing the costs and limitations of compliance with externally imposed social and environmental standards. Creating shared value acknowledges trade-offs between short-term profitability and social or environmental goals, but focuses more on the opportunities for competitive advantage for building a social value proposition into corporate strategy. As an example, the Grameen Bank, a microfinance company from Bangladesh that started off by providing loans to the very poor, has grown into an extremely profitable bank while at the same time achieved the goal of lifting millions out of poverty, thus creating shared value for the business and for society. Finally, choice editing refers to the active process of controlling or limiting the choices available to consumers so as to drive to an end goal. This is done specifically by banning things or imposing punitive taxation. Walmart decided, for example, only to sell t-shirts made from organic cotton. In this way, they are making the choice for consumers to be more sustainable. Although we've only considered 3 models of business innovation in this space, there are constantly emerging innovative business approaches to sustainable business. Finally, to see if you can apply some of the content from this week's lecture, please research the following companies and think about how they apply systems thinking to innovate for sustainability. Remember to read the prescribed readings for this topic and complete the topic quiz before attending your seminar. That's it for today's lecture. Thanks for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in class.